when I started my youth movement, I wasn't allowed to go out. I wasn't allowed. I would just go to school and come back home. So I realized that the ability to go somewhere wasn't in my reach. It wasn't a resource in my reach. So I decided to use social media to go out. So I was using the social media to outreach people from home. And then with time, my parents got to understand the impact I was making. That's when I was allowed to go out.
Welcome back to GenZ Talks, and today we're going to be discussing some very interesting topics, which include the art of building an international youth movement, as well as what exciting things are happening amongst Gen Zers in Africa. Today we're delighted to be joined by a special guest from Ghana, who at just 17 years of age is making a huge impact on communities across the world. He is an entrepreneur, speaker, presenter, and is founder of the Teenbasemagazine. I'm delighted to welcome Obed Dadzie. Welcome, Obed.
Thank you so much, Dan. I'm pretty much excited to be on here. So I more of like started my youth movement to empower young people that if little seeds can grow into huge plants, then our little selves and ideas can make huge impact as well. So with the course of time, I decided to build this brand for myself that serves as a major empowerment to young people. Currently, what we're doing is we're trying to invest in cancer research where we partner with United States hospitals and provide this form of a database between hospitals in Ghana and hospitals in the United States to enhance research in cancer as well as the treatment of the disease.
In terms of your movement that you built, Obed, who does the movement help and how specifically? Obviously, you're targeting young people, but which young people are you targeting and how will your movement help them?
Exactly. So as you rightly said, we target young people. And before this year, it was more of like a generalized group where we're looking for young people of all age groups to empower. But then we studied with time and got to know that we need to build a specific target that we can impact. So we decided to look at young people who are within our reach, who are within our community, who are within, our age group. It's more easier to reach these people than a specific group that is much older than you or too younger than you are. So we realized that we have that bit of an advantage in high school because all of us were in senior high school then. And in Ghana, most of us have to attend boarding school if you're going to senior high school. So you get an opportunity to meet a lot of people across the country from different cities all coming together in the same environment. So we use that opportunity to spread outreach, especially in senior high school. So whenever we would go to school, we make sure that we are talking about our movement with friends, we are talking about our movement with those in our class, those in the school, and also making sure that the administration in the school hears about what we're doing. So that was the main thing that we did in order to expand the movement. That was to build that sort of a network with people who are around us. So before, we were looking for people that was very hard to reach. But then we realized that there were so many people in our environments that we can reach. So we decided to impact those around us before we look outside the box.
What resources does someone need to be able to build a community, a large community?
The main resource is I keep talking about ideas because that's the main thing that helped me. When I started, just 2 minutes, when I started, I consulted a few adults to help me grow this community. And they told me that I needed money, I needed exposure, I needed media companies to help me and stuff. And I didn't have any of these things. So I sat down and thought to myself, I was actually told that this will never work. So I sat down, thought to myself that what other alternatives can I do to achieve the aim I wanted? And that was when I realized the power of my idea and the power of defining very well what I wanted to go into. So once I got that, I wasn't looking for resources that were outside my reach. I was looking for resources that were very close to me and resources that I could easily use. And some of these resources were my friends. My friends became part of my team. And then as my friends were joining, we were able to find our way to outreach, to reach out to more people. So the main thing you need isn't money or media or whatever. You just need to find out the resources that are very close to you and the resources that you can easily tap into. I cannot tell you to do this or that. I cannot tell you to go in for this or that. I cannot tell you that this is what you need or this is what you do not need. The main thing you need is your idea, defining the idea. Right after defining the idea, find out the resources that are very close to you.
Just to speak about your own country and Africa itself, actually, what exciting things are you seeing amongst Gen Z Africans in terms of entrepreneurship, or just in terms of new startups and career as well?
Yeah. So when it comes to young people in Africa, one of the main interesting things is entrepreneurship, because I would say entrepreneurship has been a part of African youth for a very long time. And using my mom as an example, she started her business at the age of 17. She was exporting and importing. She was traveling to other places for goods and stuff like that. And that is not the only story of my mom, but it is the story of so many young people in Africa. So one main interesting thing about young Africans is entrepreneurship. But majority of young Africans start doing something at a very young age because of the lack of privileges here. You've got to do something to support your family, to support your siblings, to support your education. So entrepreneurship is like connected to the heart of young Africans. It's not like you want to do it, but it's something that you need to do in order to support yourself in education, in order to support your family.
Yeah, do you think the internet is leveling out the playing field in terms of the access to information and resources on the internet have given opportunities to people from all backgrounds, no matter how much money you have? It's kind of given this opportunity for so many young and older people to start their own business because the internet is so available across the world now. Has that really been a big kind of component of the rise in entrepreneurship in Africa?
Yes. So the truth about it is internet access is very, very expensive in Africa, and it's not available to everyone. And the percentage of Africans who do not have the access to the internet is very high than those who do have access. And one of the main things that made me realize this is when we moved our medical biotechnology class to online due to the COVID. There were so many applications, but then during the class, we realized not every young person could come on, even though they did want to come on. And that is one problem that we are all trying to find a way to work around, because I believe that if internet was more of like easily accessible to young people, African entrepreneurs would have been higher than they are now. Looking at the way young people are using it right now, I'm thinking of the fact that if more young people than the number now had the access to the internet, there would have been more young entrepreneurs, successful young entrepreneurs than we have right now. And it's something that we are all trying to create awareness on, and we are all trying to find alternative means to work around. Find the resources that are within your reach, that are within your environment. And just 1 minute story. When I started my youth movement, I wasn't allowed to go out. I wasn't allowed. I would just go to school and come back home. So I realized that the ability to go somewhere wasn't in my reach. It wasn't a resource in my reach. So I decided to use social media to go out. So I was using the social media to outreach people from home. And then with time, my parents got to understand the impact I was making. That's when I was allowed to go out. So that's the main thing.
Yeah, that's very insightful, because I know obviously the access to internet is increasing, but it's interesting that still a large percentage of people in Africa still don't have the access which many other parts of the world have. So you mentioned about alternative resources for those who don't have the internet. Can you be maybe a little specific in terms of what resources could other people use to their advantage if they don't have access to the internet?
Exactly. So one of the things that I have seen young Africans do, even though it isn't the best, but then I feel it's one of the most helpful resource to boosting your businesses. We have this type of local radio stations in every small community. It's not like the modern one, but then you just go there, you send the information you want to them or the information you want to promote to them, and then they will announce it in the end. About 2 to 3 towns will get to hear about your product. So that is what I've seen a lot of young Africans use, those who do not have access to the internet use. So basically every morning around 5 a.m. you would hear an announcement of a new product of something that someone has created, a new business or something. And then it's able to reach out to a lot of places, to a lot of towns. What young people do is, if I want to reach out to the Western region, I would be sending my information to different local radio stations. One of the projects that I'm working on with my movement is trying to build a youth center with free internet access for young people who want to do certain things, use the internet for education, for business and entrepreneurship.
What would you like to change for young people going forward? What would be your goal, not just for your movement, but for young people in general? What changes would you like to see?
So a platform more of like a progressive platform for young people specifically, that recognizes the hard work of young Africans, the ideas of young people, and that more of hears young people out. So that's the main thing that I want. A youth community that not only empowers young people, but then serves as a progressive community for young people that gets our voices up there and also helps us when we need it. Because over here, we do not have a say in, I would say, 95% of everything that goes on in the country, even if it's about us. So girls are required to cut their hair when they are going to school, short like mine, even shorter than mine. And we cannot say anything about it. We have tried, but then we will not be heard because we are young people. So those are some of the things that we feel we need so much change in this community. Young people want to be heard. Young people need to be heard. Even with the subjects that we learn in school, we don't have a say about it. It's all given to us and we learn it. So that is one thing I really want to change to. We need a platform that hears young people. Not only hears us, but then a platform that allows our voice to be the change in the country and also make decisions, especially for ourselves.
Excellent. Thanks for your very insightful information and inspiring stories from the work you've been doing, Obed. I'd like to congratulate you personally at such a young age for what you've achieved. And I'm really excited for the further work you're going to be doing going forward. And I can really see your movement growing and growing, because it's certainly inspiring, and I know you've been involved recently in some amazing projects which are helping a lot of people and communities locally and also afar as well. So yeah, thank you for sharing and taking your time to join us today, Obed.
Thank you so much for having me.
Excellent. Speak to you soon.